بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا وحبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا وبعد.
My dear respected brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, I'm going to continue from ayat 196 tonight. Just a quick recap and review of what we have discussed so far. One of the most misused and misunderstood ayat which non-Muslims use. Last session we had talked about وَقَتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ, and go ahead and kill them wherever you find them. And we've already discussed in detail that if you take the ayat out of this context and you don't understand what the background is, then anything can be understood from any verse. So it was the Sahaba that were being tolerant for long periods. So throughout the Meccan life, the whole oppression was being done on the Muslims. Their homes were taken away, they were pushed out of their possessions, and now finally after many years Allah is giving them the permission that you are allowed to take retribution, you can take revenge now. That's the context of that ayat. We also talked about وَأَنْفِقُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ in ayat 195, and that was not related to zakat, but instead it was related to that when jihad, when people and the Muslim army is in need, so you have to, besides the zakat, you have to provide the resources that if you have them, it becomes wajib on the individual to support the army. وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. We also talked about taking destruction with your own hands. This is something in detail we have discussed, that in general when something is clear in front of us that this is bad for us, so ulama ikram have defined it in all those things that are harmful for people, to take them with your own hand and to take that path, it comes under at-tahluka, it comes under destroying yourself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden that. وَأَحْسِنُوا, and develop beauty in your a'mal, whether it's hajj, zakat, or all the a'mal, it goes as a round figure that ahsinu, bring beauty, and that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. 196. From here the discussion of hajj begins. Why right after qital we have the discussion of hajj? This too was pointed out a couple of sessions ago, that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the mention of hajj in front of the Sahaba and the Ansar, they knew that right now we don't have possession of the house of Allah, and in order for us to do hajj, first we have to do qital. First we have to win back our home and free the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the idols and from the mushrikeen. Finally the hajj can be performed. So that's why we have the ayat related to qital first, and then the ayat of hajj which are beginning from tonight. وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says complete the hajj and umrah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now some mufassirin have said that this is the ayat that made hajj farz, but Ibn Kathir rahmatullah alayhi rejected that idea, and he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made hajj farz in the third hijrah, in the third year of hijrah, after Rasulullah migrated. The third year Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made hajj obligation on the Muslimin. Here the ayat are related to the 6th year of hijrah, when the treaty of Hudaybiyah was taking place. وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. So by meaning to complete hajj and umrah, it means that a person has come into ihram and now he has to complete the hajj, he has to complete the umrah. For who? Lillah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The point of sincerity is being mentioned here. Now, how many hajj and how many umrahs did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? This is of Anas radiallahu anhu. He was asked about the hajj and umrahs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did one hajj, which is known as the Hajjatul Wada, the farewell hajj, and umrahs 4 times Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. The first one, they were barred to go into Makkatul Mukarramah, the first one, and that was when the treaty of Hudaybiyah was broken. That was the first umrah. They did not fulfill it, they had to go ahead and get out of ihram, but Allah gave them the reward. The next year again they came for the umrah. So ulama ikram have counted them as 2 umrahs, the first and the following year. Then one with the hajj. That's the third one. And then one after the battle of Hunain, when the booty of Hunain was distributed, then from Ji'rana, which is one of the miqats, Rasulullah ﷺ made ihram, and he went ahead and did the fourth umrah. As far as who is first upon, we know that this is a very easy understanding. Man istata'a ilayhi sabila, a person who can bear the cost and he has the ability to travel for Hajj, and he can also leave behind enough for his family, the accommodations, all of that has to be within his capability, then Hajj will become fard on him. Man istata'a ilayhi sabila. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has encouraged Hajj and Umrah a lot, right? Man hajja lillah falam yarfut walam yafsuq raja'a ka yawmin waladathu ummu. It's like being born again. A person who's done Hajj and he stays away from shameful acts, he stays away from sinful acts, he's going to return as if the day he was born. Then we have the hadith regarding Umrah as well. Al-Umratu ila al-Umrah kaffaratul lima baynahuma. Allah takes care of all the sins in between the two Umrahs that a person does. So again and again, encouragement is there, and if a person has the ability and he delays, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also said, فَلَا عَلَيْهِ أَن يَمُوتَ يَهُودِيًّا أَوْ نَصْرَانِيًّا. We have no consideration of this person, whether he dies as a Jew or a Christian. So we have to understand that this is a very severe ruling. When a person has the ability and he's delaying and delaying and delaying, that's when he falls under this wa'id. Today's dars is related to mostly the rulings of Hajj. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَتِمُوا الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. It has to be done for, of course the sincerity is there, has to be done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-itmam, to do something in completion. One is that once you have started, then don't take it as a joke, don't turn away from it. The other understanding is that do all the mustahabbats, beautify the whole Hajj, learn it, prepare for it, and while going there, don't go for the flexibilities, but instead go for the preferred acts and make it beautiful. So both of those meanings come under itmam al-Hajj. وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. The ruling for Umrah is that at least in a lifetime, once Umrah is sunnah, at least once. Then you can do as many as you want. Allah will keep giving the reward of nafil, which is a voluntary act, but at least in a lifetime, once to do it is a sunnah, it's not farz. And that is from a hadith of Rasulullah that he said that it is voluntary and it is not wajib upon you. Then we move forward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ. Let me just translate the first part. وَأَتِمُوا الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. Hajj और umrah को मुकम्मल करो Allah के लिए. فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي. Then if you are prevented from going into the house of Allah, from doing the Hajj or Umrah, فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي. Whatever is convenient from you from the sacrifice, you may offer that sacrifice. अगर तुम्हें रोक दिया जाए Hajj और Umrah करने से, तो फिर तुम्हें कुर्बानी करनी पड़ेगी. Now ihsar, there is a complete chapter of fiqh on ihsar, what happens when a person is stopped. This is for those individuals that have gone into ihram and now for some reason they are unable to do the Umrah or Hajj. This is exactly what happened at the time of Hudaybiyah when Rasulullah came with the Sahaba, and now they were barred from going into Makkatul Mukarramah. They were not allowed to go. So they were in the state of ihsar. A person who is in ihsar is called a muhsir. He has been stopped from going for Hajj or Umrah. What did they do? The same ruling which is given here, to sacrifice the animal that they have, and then they have to get out of their ihram. So sacrificing, shaving the head, and getting out of the ihram. The next year, the Umrah will stay a qaza for the next year or the next time you have the ability. It stays a qaza on the account of that individual. But the ruling for him is that in order to get out of ihram, he has to go ahead and slaughter the animal, shave his head, and then get out of ihram. Now, فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي. Whenever the word hajj comes in the technology of, terminology of Quran and Sunnah, it means not any animal, right? Hajj you can apply to animals, but in Sharia, it means a goat, a cow, or a camel. If it's a goat, then at least 1 year, ulama ikram say it should be a year old. And if there's a sheep or a lamb, that's also allowed. If it's a lamb and it's tough and it's big enough that it looks like a 1 year old, that is also acceptable. Then we have the cow. The cow should at least be 2 years old, and the camel should at least be 5-year-old. So that when we say haji, that's where it comes down, that to sacrifice an animal in these situations, it's one of these animals. وَلَا تَحْلِقُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ. Now, before we go forward, Another thing to understand here is that when Rasulullah ﷺ was stopped, they went ahead and did all of these things, that they slaughtered and they shaved their heads. We know it's a long incident, we already know that. But one question that arises here, that when the animal was slaughtered, was it slaughtered in the hudud al-haram or was it slaughtered outside of the haram? Because the next portion of the verse says, وَلَا تَحْلِقُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ الْهَدْيُ مَحِلًّا. Do not shave your heads until the animal that has to be slaughtered, it reaches its destination. अपने सर को उस वक्त तक मत मुंडाओ जब तक कि कुर्बानी का जानवर अपने ठिकाने न पहुंच जाए. That means the halq will happen after the slaughtering, and the slaughtering has to take place in the hudud of haram. So when at Hudaybiyah, when Rasulullah ﷺ had slaughtered the animal, ulama ikram went into discussion that was it inside the hudud of haram or was it outside. So Imam Waqidi rahimahullah in his Tafseer, he points out that Hudaybiyah, half of it is inside the haram, and it's most likely that when Rasulullah ﷺ has slaughtered the animal, he slaughtered it within the hudud of haram, because of the ayat pointing out you cannot do it outside of the mahilla, and that is the hudud of haram. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ بِهِ أَذًى مِنْ رَأْسِهِ فَفِدْيَةٌ مِنْ صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ. Now these are those exceptional cases. A person becomes sick, and because of his sickness, he is unable to do one of those things that he is required to do in Hajj or in Umrah. He's supposed to shave his head, but he is unable to do it because of the sickness. Or he has to shave his head because of some reason before the time comes, before the animal is slaughtered. We find in a hadith of Bukhari, Ka'ab ibn Ujra radiallahu anhu. Ka'ab ibn Ujra radiallahu anhu, he had a problem with lice. Right? And he said that it was so much that people can see lice falling out of my head. So Rasulullah ﷺ approached him and asked him, are you in pain? He said, yes, I'm in pain. So the Prophet ﷺ instructed him that go ahead and shave your head. Now he had not slaughtered his animal yet, but the instruction was because there's a udhr there's a shari and valid reason there. So he said, go ahead and slaughter your hair. But what do you have to do? فَفِدْيَةٌ مِّن صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ. Either fast for 3 days. We find this in the hadith. That's not over here, but in the hadith of Bukhari it points out either fast for 3 days, or if you can't, then you can also have the option of feeding 6 fuqara, six people who are deserving, or slaughter a goat. There's an option there. So from this hukum, ulama ikram have deduced the idea that anything in ihram, if you do it because of a valid reason, then you have these 3 options with you. You have to fulfill the ransom in these 3 ways. Either you go ahead and you slaughter the goat, or you go ahead and you feed the 6 masakin, or you go ahead and fast for 3 days. These options are there, but it's only for when you have a shar'i udhr. That means you have no other options and you had to do something in ihram. For example, in ihram you're not allowed to wear something that's sewn, right? But you had to, for some medical reason, there was no other option, and you wore it for almost 12 hours, they say majority of the day. So now, because of being a valid udhr, valid reason and excuse, you have 3 options in front of you. Ya to 3 din ke roze rakhe, ya 6 miskinon ko khana khilaye, ya bakri ka zubah kare. These are the 3 options there. But if you do not have a valid reason and you commit a violation in ihram, you don't have a valid reason, or you just forgot, or you were neglectful, so then you have to slaughter a goat. There is a dam. On that there is no option there. That is actually a punishment. It's not a ransom, it's a punishment, because why were you not aware, right? Why did you not learn beforehand? So because the neglect falls on our side, so then there is what we call a dam. For that you have to slaughter a goat or a lamb. For in other options, when there is a udhr, then these 3 options are there. فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now you are secure. Ihsar is finished. Right? The enemies are not stopping you, or the sickness is not stopping you. You know, one of the reasons of ihsar can be that you went for umrah and your visa got rejected. Now you're in ihram, you got stuck. right? So there are many reasons that can happen, not just the ones mentioned here, but many reasons that a person, because of his sickness, it grows so much he cannot do the Hajj or Umrah. So for that individual, he has to slaughter the animal, and that also comes under ihsar. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, when you are secure now, जब तुम अमन पा जाओ, अब उम्रा हज और उम्रा कर सकते हो, तो फिर क्या करना है? فَمَنْ تَمَتَّعَ بِالْعُمْرَةِ إِلَى الْحَجِّ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ. A person who takes advantage of umrah with the hajj, then he has to also slaughter an animal. He has to slaughter what is convenient for him. जिसने उम्रा का फायदा उठाया हज के साथ, तो फिर वो भी जानवर को ज़िबा करे जो उसको मुयस्सर हो. From here we have to understand, for the rest of the ayat here, you have to understand the types of hajj. That we have three types of hajj. The very simple, and the first one is ifrad. It comes from the word mufrad, single. And for those people who are living within the residence of Makkah, and they're living in the limits of Makkah, they have to do hajj al-ifrad. Because it's instructed to them that they can do umrah in any other time of the year, so they should not do umrah in the days of hajj, but they should only do hajj al-ifrad. That's number one. What happens in hajj al-ifrad? When you make the niyat of ihram, you go ahead and make the niyat of only hajj, no umrah and no attaching the other ibadat with it, just hajj. जिस हज में सिर्फ इस बात के ihram और नियत हो कि वो हज करेंगे और उम्रे का ना हो, तो उसको हज ifrad कहते हैं. The second type of hajj is known as hajj qiran, that where you attach two niyats in your ihram. When you make the niyat of ihram, you make the niyat of hajj and umrah with the same ihram. So that individual is going to go there, he's going to do umrah, he's going to stay in ihram after the umrah. He will not shave his head and get out. He'll stay in ihram and he'll do the hajj. After the hajj, he's going to get out of his ihram. So when you combine two niyats, that's qiran. Qarana yaqrinu comes from attaching, combining. So combining two things in the state of ihram, umrah and hajj. So then that is hajj qiran. The third type is hajj tamattu'. That means that you go for the niyat is when you make the ihram, you make the niyat of umrah, and when you do the umrah there, you stay there and you get out of ihram. You stay there, and then when the 8th of Dhul Hijjah comes and time of hajj comes, then you make another ihram for hajj, and then you go ahead and do hajj. So that would be hajj tamattu'. Now which hajj did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? He did hajj qiran. And according to the fiqh of Hanafi, that the most preferable one, the best one with the most virtues is hajj qiran, because it also has the most amount of effort, and that is the one that is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done. So the person stays in ihram the whole time, right? He goes for umrah and he doesn't get out of ihram. You're still under that until the whole thing, the whole hajj finished, then he gets out of ihram. So that's the most virtuous one. The second after that is hajj tamattu', and the third is hajj ifrad. Now at the time of Jahiliyyah, they used to also do hajj, but they understood the fact that if you do hajj, you cannot do any other umrah, you cannot connect it with another ibadah. So they would consider that to be sinful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through these verses has given a concession, and especially for those who are traveling from outside, that maybe that's the only time this person is going to go to Makkah. Maybe that's the only saving that he had. So now a concession was given that okay, when he goes there, he can also do umrah and hajj. He can combine the two, or do a niyat for one and then the niyat for the next one, but in the same journey he'll do both. So this is also the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who gave us this type of concession that we can do both. Now when a person does tamattu' or qiran, that means he combines, so he has to do an extra sacrifice. An extra sacrifice at the end, which is known as Dammu Shukr. This is to show gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah allowed us to do two ibadats at one journey, Umrah and Hajj. So it becomes wajib on the person who does Hajj Tamattu or Hajj Qiran, that he has to give an extra dam, and that is dam for Shukr, to show gratefulness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ تَمَتَّعَ بِالْعُمْرَةِ إِلَى الْحَجِّ. Now he combined and he took advantage of Umrah with the Hajj. See, فَمَسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ, जिसने उम्रा और हज को साथ किया तो उसको एक एक्स्ट्रा कुर्बानी देनी है, उसको दम शुक्र कहते हैं. فَمَسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْحَجِّ, एक और कुर्बानी उसे देनी होती है, वाजिब है. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ وَسَبْعَةٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ. All of these are rulings related to Hajj and Umrah, and we have to learn this, especially when we decide to go for Umrah or Hajj. It's ruling after ruling after ruling, and it might get boring at times, but we should know that if I've done something in the past and it was incorrect in my Umrah, then I have to give dam, and that sacrifice can only be done in the hudud of haram. So you have to send the money there, or somebody who is going there, the sacrifice will be done in those limits. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, in the case of a person who combines Umrah and Hajj, says فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ. Now a person can't afford to do the dam shukr, he cannot do the sacrifice to show gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then another alternative is given to him. فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ, he can fast for 3 days in the days of Hajj, وَسَبْعَةٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ, 7 days after he goes back, after the days of Hajj. Now the months of Hajj start from Shawwal. Right after Eid al-Fitr finishes, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. That's your time for Hajj. If a person does Umrah in these days and then goes for Hajj at the time of Hajj, automatically his Hajj is either going to be Qiran or Tamattu. It won't be Ifrat, because he's done one Umrah in the months of Hajj. But if a person is living inside Makkah and this time starts Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, now he should not do Umrah, but he should just prepare for Hajj. And because this concession has been given for those people traveling from outside, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for them that during the days of Hajj, they are the only ones doing the Umrah and Hajj. The residents of Makkah will only be doing Hajj. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us another alternative, that if you cannot sacrifice, right, so you're going to fast for 10 days. Those 3 days are going to be before Hajj, in the days of Hajj, and then the 7 days will be after the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. When the 8 days are over, the days we're eating in, those days are finished, then 7 days he has to fast. So 10 days of fasting, tilka asharatun kamila. Then this completes 10 days of fasting, and this goes as an alternative for a person who cannot afford to make the sacrifice. ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ أَهْلُهُ حَاضِرِ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ. And this is for those individuals who does not have a family in Masjid al-Haram. That means the locations in the Haram. They are not a resident of Makkah. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And fear Allah. This again taqwa comes. We talked about this as the Siyam, Ramadan, the relation with that, with taqwa. And then Qital came, relation again with taqwa. Hajj, again taqwa. You'll see every great ibadat which is being talked about, Allah is saying without the taqwa it's not going to work. The whole sacrifices that are being done is in order to develop the love and fear for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Know and understand that Allah is severe at punishing. Now, why say this at the very end of this ayat? Because when people usually go for Hajj and Umrah, they become careless. And they say, okay, Allah is Ghafur Rahim, go ahead. You made a mistake, no problem. Go ahead, just do it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is instructing. You see how many rulings we did just in this one ayat. So Allah is giving us through the Quran. We're not even relating to Hadith, most of it in the Quran. So it shows the importance that a person has to take care of the rulings. Fear Allah about these rulings, and when Allah comes to punish, Shadidul Iqab, Allah is very severe at punishing. So आखिर में Allah Taala ने अपने आप से डरने का हुक्म और फिर इस बात को बता दिया कि देख लो अल्लाह जानते हैं, तुम भी जान लो कि अल्लाह ताला बहुत सख्त हैं जब आज़ाब का वक्त आता है. तो जब हज और उम्रे की तैयारी का वक्त आता है तो अहकाम को सीखना ये भी उसके तैयारी का बहुत अहम हिस्सा है. And it's important that we don't become so flexible that everything is allowed. We just say Allah is Ghafur, or we don't become so strict that it seems impossible. But sitting with scholars and learning the whole step-by-step process of Hajj and Umrah, it helps out for us in order to do it correctly.
May Allah give us tawfiq and understanding. Jazakumullahu khair wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.